As Philippe and his wife led us further into the woods of the Boggs and Boulders mud park, the mud and the ruts got deeper. This being my first night ride, and the four-wheeler being so new to me, I was of course a little nervous. Now don't get me wrong, I was having a blast and getting more comfortable on the trails. But there was still that apprehension about not breaking my new bike. You know, accidentally sucking water or mud into the engine or belt box or something like that. So, as careful as I was trying to be, I was still having fun. It all seemed well, too. The Sportsman handled great and surprised me at how well it would traverse the deep ruts, hills, and extremely uneven ground. So, my little bit of nervousness was slowly waning. In fact, my nervousness had almost succumbed to total bliss. But then we stopped for a break where Philippe and I had this conversation.
I just filled it too. I just filled it.
Can you see it? Am I just crazy? If you're low, man, I got a bottle of water if you want to put something in there.
I've got coolant. Alright. Back at the truck.
Because normally you're here,
yeah.
And when it gets hot, it goes up. Probably to that line. That might be your max line. I mean, to me, you don't have any in there.
Yeah, that's what
I don't want you to overheat. You got a hot light that comes on?
I haven't seen it. Let's check.
It might be fine, but you don't have any in your overflow. What I can tell.
Let's see what we got.
I mean, you might have, whenever they got it, they might have flushed it and you got air bubbles in there. So it hurts.
It's not showing anything hot.
Okay. I would put some coolant in there and get back.
Yeah.
Or tomorrow. Probably tonight and then tomorrow check it when it's cold.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big thing with these, man. You got to make sure they're maintained or
because
little stuff turns into big shit, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously overheating is going to mess some stuff up.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is I made sure I had full coolant when I came, so I'm wondering if
you got a leak or
I got a leak or something.
Yeah, you might have just had air bubbles. I would knock on wood and say you probably just got some air bubbles in the system if they drained it. But there's no guarantee. Was it green stuff?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't see anything in there.
Yeah, I don't either.
I got water if you want to put it, but normally I don't put straight water. I put distilled water.
Yeah.
But I got water if you want it.
Well, how far do we have to go?
Man, we're pretty far away. We're about the so what we drove so far, we're about halfway. So if we were to go straight back, we're looking at the same distance that we came out here.
I think that'll be. Well, there's the line right there.
Yeah, it's got fluid in it.
It's got fluid in it.
And maybe it's just the color of the light. You know what? Now that I'm looking, it looks like you have some in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Because it does have a green tinge to it.
Yeah. My stuff's blue, so you can like really see it. I might just be crazy, yeah.
Alright, we're ready.
I think you're right, because like you said, that's the line coming to it. You probably have some up to here. I think you might. Yeah,
I'll check it better in the light.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, it looks
just
good.
one for a hot light. I don't want to like make you paranoid or anything like that. That's stuff that I worry about. My Grizzly just runs hot in general, so that's something I'm constantly looking at.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now that I look back on it, I think this conversation jinxed the rest of the night. It certainly brought back my nervousness over the four-wheeler. I didn't have the coolant with me. It was in the truck back at camp. And now I was a little worried about the possibility of overheating. But it gets better. Or should I say worse. The night just sort of degraded from there.
Oh. Whoop. Yeah.
So Philippe gets stuck. No big deal. And then he gets stuck again.
You can tell that's deep when she steps in it, huh?
Now, at some point after hours of riding and running your camera, you think to yourself that you have enough footage for now and you want to save battery life. So you shut off the camera, which I did. For that reason, I didn't catch a lot of what happened next on video. So let me recount the events that led to the ruination of the weekend as they unfolded. The first thing we began to realize was that Philippe was lost. We had wandered onto the new edition of trails, which Philippe was not familiar with, and after a while, we found that we were going in circles. We started seeing the same holes, rocks, protruding limbs, and ruts over and over again. Then Philippe's Yamaha Grizzly began to overheat, so we would stop to let it cool down. The constant starting and stopping led to his battery weakening, so his one light became useless. For that reason, we decided I would run out front because my lights worked and everyone would follow me. The plan was for me to lead until we came to a fork or a side trail. We would stop and discuss which way to go, and then I would lead again from that point. Once I took the lead, I really gave the four-wheeler the gas. I would hammer it in hopes that we could get back to camp faster. At one point I hammered it and it backfired. This troubled me, but it kept going. As soon as we came to a T in the trail and we stopped to discuss which way to go, my four-wheeler died. As soon as I dropped it to an idle, it just quit. Now, I was able to start it again, but I had to keep goosing it or it would die. Now remember that nervousness I described earlier? Well, that turned into utter dread. I was convinced that somewhere on the trail I had sucked water or mud into something I shouldn't have, or that bouncing over deep ruts and huge rocks had knocked something loose on my poor four-wheeler was ruined. After all, I'm a newbie, so my imagination ran wild with fear. We kept going though. I led with my sputtering, backfiring four-wheeler, giving light to Philippe with his overheated Grizzly, and a battery on its last leg. Oh, and the family that was following us? Well, you could tell that Dad was getting a little frustrated. The kids were just having a blast on this late night adventure, and then Mom, well, I think she was just happy that they were doing something together. She did, however, let out a nice smattering of curse words at one point when she was riding their Honda four-wheeler. She tried to navigate through a mud hole which I had just bounced through. Somehow, on the way out of the hole, she managed to set the Honda on its butt, throwing her and her son off into the mud. Believe me when I tell you, mothers can say stuff that would embarrass drunken sailors. Anyway, at one point we had to stop virtually in the middle of a swamp to give the Grizzly a jump. I did turn the camera on for this conversation.
I don't know. Somebody may be towing me back.
You're not working either?
Well, we're going to let it cool and see, but...
Kind of like me. Like his was like the battery was weak too when you tried to start it. Yeah. Well, he's running his lights and stuff, which are...
They were working fine.
If the person that bought, because you said you bought your second hand, but new-ish,
yeah.
The battery might just...
Battery shouldn't have been that bad.
No. I'm just wondering if it gets got... Anybody got any coolant?
We have water, not coolant out here. Looks like it's out.
Yeah, we got water.
I mean, water's better than nothing. That's what I thought, but then this suction hose still had water in it.
Yeah, I still got water in there.
So where's it going? It's going back to it?
Comes down, right. Comes down below. Right there.
And then your top one is your vent. Can you pop that one off just to make
But
sure
your reservoir ain't got nothing in it, you know? Maybe it's...
Well, we kind of looked at it, and it kind of looks like there's some at that line.
Maybe stopped up somewhere.
He didn't get any like hot lights or anything like his.
I kind of think there's not, because it would have been...
They were just crazy? It's probably
because I remember before, you could see it.
Well, I don't have any really water. I got ice. Oh, there you go. You got something there. Look at that. Wait, move your light away. Move your light away. I thought I saw something. So you think it's empty? Somebody got water?
I got some.
I
We have
dumped all
water.
mine. No, we don't. I dumped all ours on the river.
We have water in our cooler.
Yeah, we got dirt water. If you want to
I got some water. I think I got a jug of. I got a
Oh, he wants clean
16
water.
ounces of water.
I got water here.
Yeah, I would put some water in there. And when you get home and after this
Wanna
trip
hold
and
that light?
everything, yeah, you just flush it out.
I've got coolant at the truck. Let's see if we can.
It kind of has a weird tint, like it's in there.
See if it moves. See if you can see it moving in there.
I swear, buddy, this is my eye.
I mean, I kind of get like a weird tint that it's in there. Like, is that to the top? That fills to the top? It looks like it's good. Yeah.
There's something in
Yeah.
there.
You got something in there, dude.
Yeah, I got plenty in there, I think. So that shouldn't be the issue.
That shouldn't be the issue.
Your
You
gauge-
got fluid.
you
You should go.
Your gauge is still working, and it's not saying it's hot. And we've been sitting here for 30 minutes. So I think it's probably fine. Hey,
Yep.
this is your light, right?
Yeah, you got mine.
It's not fair.
I'll
You
wait
sure
till
that
you
like
get
it?
started before I try to do anything.
You gotta point
So
that
at this point, we've determined that it's not a coolant issue,
out. I kinda am.
but
The more I-
something was still keeping it from running correctly.
Hold on.
Really?
So while we sat and waited for the little Honda side-by-side to give some juice to the Yamaha Grizzly, we discussed the fact that we were lost and that you could tell there was a little bit of frustration going on in the group. You know, one thing we did was we kept, every time we came to a fork in the road or a T, some kind of turn, we'd always take the right turn, which I believe was making us go in circles.
Just keep going left. Left. Who was it that was like, please go left?
That was me. Please go
Did we do that 2 or 3 times?
Three.
times?
We did it 3 times.
She's
I'm like, please go fucking
She's like, that looks familiar. I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't know. And then we did it
No,
again. I'm
I
like,
was like,
that looks
no.
familiar.
I said, I've ducked for this branch before, Bev. I've straight up
You
ducked.
don't know
Yeah.
where you're at.
Well, I remember seeing the stick sticking out. I'm like, if I see a small little
Yeah,
creek
really. It's
crossing
like-
after that, and I saw it,
You're
oh,
like,
Yeah.
that's it.
We even went by where you got stuck.
Yeah, we did. Went around that.
did we?
Yeah, we went right by where y'all got stuck.
Yeah, we did
How
that.
did we get stuck?
We went by
What
that
were
2
you
more
like,
times, I
let's go
think.
this way?
We went by that twice.
Yeah.
didn't we?
My lights are so bad. I thought it
Yeah,
was
we
just my
can't
lights
see.
suck, but I think my battery and alternator are just so junk.
Be careful, that's where she
Yeah, that's bad right there. Real bad.
We figured it out.
Again.
Again.
Those are just
hey,
going to take a
if
hose.
you- that water over there, it actually has a rock bottom,
You can walk
so
in there?
you won't lose your shoes. If you want to kind of rinse them off.
Yeah.
Still got smoke coming off.
Because that's my battery.
Ours. It's a rock bottom. Walk out there.
I got some beer in it.
There's no gators in there.
I might have to.
I might
I'm not
hit-
driving it.
If you got a
so.
Michelob, I'll probably hit you up on that because I'm getting those dehydrated.
I
All
got
this,
something over there.
all this broke downness.
In the back of yours. I might go take it. I can replace it as soon as we get back to camp. I got shots. I got beer. I got firewood. I got chicken that I cooked on the grill.
We'll be cooking tomorrow. We'll be cooking tomorrow something.
We got more chicken.
Well, hopefully this is kind of exciting and fun for y'all, even though we're all.
What?
Yeah, I'm having fun.
Hopefully you're still having fun.
As long as this thing starts back up, I'm having fun.
Yeah. All right, cool.
Well, it's all up about him. He may be pissed if his stuff don't start.
Yeah.
As long as it fires back up and goes home, I'm
I don't
having
see
fun.
why it wouldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
this thing don't look. This thing looks like brand new. I mean,
It
you
is.
ain't
Well,
had it long,
it
huh?
is. It's basically brand new. It's only.
Hey, that's like my side by side right there.
Hmm?
This is the first time I've had it out.
Is it?
Yeah, I've had it around the house,
Mhm.
but that's it.
Well, I've had this on my property,
Yeah.
but not a whole lot. I think I've got about 100 hours on it, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's me. I
Dave,
ain't got
can I
no.
get a beer? Are you okay with that?
I don't think that. You ain't got no coolant issue.
Yeah,
I don't
there's
think
water.
so.
Before
This Polaris ought to crank up and fucking go.
Mhm.
Get it.
and it did. It cranked up and it goed. But once in a while, I'd have to stop and just restart it because it would just die on me. And it didn't run well either. It backfired and sputtered along. I still led the group for the most part, but once in a while they would jump in front of me just because I was going too slow and I couldn't get enough speed up.
I can't do that. Ah.
Now you could see that it kept dying on me. Every time I'd come to a stop, it would die. The one good thing was I saw a bunch of lights down there, which I assumed was camp or at least riders that knew where they were at, and I wanted to get down to them. But the trail that we were going on kept leading away.
They were right down there. Didn't you see them?
What?
The camp was right there.
That's not camp.
Oh, was it?
That was people.
That was just people.
Which way? Left? Left. That takes us to the swamp, doesn't it?
Now you can really hear the Sportsman struggling to run at this point. And of course, I'm just getting more and more worried about it. My imagination is running wild with mud circulating through any fuel lines, overheating, and engine block warpage, stuff like that. But I was determined to get us back to camp.
Which way back to camp?
So Philippe decided to stop and ask this group directions back to camp, which eventually we finally got back to camp. At that point, I turned off the cameras. I just stuck the bike right next to the truck, and I went to bed. It was late. Philippe came over the next morning and brought a little charger over, and we were able to start the bike, because once I got it to back to the camp and stopped, I couldn't start it again. We were able to get it started, but all it would do is run a little bit, backfire and die. Run a little bit, backfire and die.
We're almost here. Keep going.
Well, things aren't going so well. Took it out on the trails last night, and after a couple hours it started running rough and backfiring like it was missing or something. So I got it back to camp, shut it off, went ahead. It was dark, so I went ahead and went to sleep. Got up this morning, tried to start it, and it won't even, it'll go meow meow. So I don't know what the deal is. I've got the extended warranty or whatever on it, so I'm going to take it in and see what they can tell me. Bummer, man. I had this whole day planned out, going around and making video and playing. Just not working the way I wanted it to. Oh well. Yesterday was Friday the 13th. I don't believe in that stuff, but doggone it, it would have to be yesterday, wouldn't it? So I packed it up and took it home. That day was a beautiful Saturday, and I completely missed it. I was going to ride, I was going to video, I was going to have all kinds of fun. But the four-wheeler broke, and I couldn't do it. So what happened? Well, did I suck mud or water somewhere I shouldn't have? No. Did I hit something too hard and knock things loose? No. In fact, there was no overheating problem at all whatsoever. It was just dark, we couldn't see, and different fears coming to the surface, and we talking about them. But this is what happened. I took it home, took it into the dealer, showed them my warranty, and they fixed it. The problem was simple. Polaris seems to be making some strange fuel pumps for their 570s, and maybe even some of their other models as well. They replaced it without any question. In fact, not only did they replace the fuel pump, they also replaced a fuel line that originally put in there was a small line. They replaced it with a little bit bigger line, giving you a little bit more fuel pressure or ability to run the fuel through the lines, I guess is. I'm not exactly sure how that goes, but that's what they told me. Anyway, since then, it's ran like a champ, and I can promise you this, there are more adventures coming.